Coming up on Locked On NBA Daily. What's the formula for a top defense in 2026? And which teams have a chance to lead the league in defense next season? We make those predictions, plus we try to make sense of the Washington Wizards rotation. Locked On NBA Daily starts now.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. I'm Wes Goldberg. That's Matt Moore and Haize. Happy Friday afternoon, everybody. We have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about where defenses are going in 2026. We're going to be taking a look at some of the trends and teams that we think have a chance to be one of the top defenses in the league next season. We're also going to finish the show with a look at the Washington Wizards rotation. It is our final installment of the Rotation Lab. But let's start with what made a top defense last season. I think it's a good way to start this broad conversation about defensive trends in today's NBA. We should start with a look at the top defenses from last season. Top 5 in defensive rating were in order: Oklahoma City, Detroit, San Antonio, Boston, and then Toronto. Matt, what similarities, if any, stand out about those units?
So we talked a lot about when we did the offensive one that there were these kind of like trends that stood out as far as like where things are going. What I think is difficult with defense is when I looked at this, there's not really a pattern. There are things that help, right? Like having a rim protector helps, but you can look at this and you can find teams where it's like Toronto didn't have like an elite defensive rim protector. They didn't have like a center that stood back there and handled it. Houston doesn't really have that. They were without Steven Adams for most of the year. Even Steve-O's not really like an elite rim protector, and Şengün is definitely not, right? The Knicks, have good rim defense, but you wouldn't look at Towns and say that. So like you have all these kind of mechanisms where it's like, yeah, that helps, but you don't need it. All right, so like what's the next thing? Okay, what about perimeter defenders? Can you get over screens? Can you stay in isolate? Like isolation, we talked about a lot. That was the first place I went to, which was we found that good offenses in the NBA last season were running a lot of isolation and scoring well there. There's no correlation there either. San Antonio was bottom 10 in isolation defense last season, which will probably surprise a lot of people. I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. And that to me is the most interesting thing is there are teams that give up tons of three-pointers. 7 out of 10 teams were 15th or worse in opponent three-point rate in the top 10. They gave up a ton of threes, and yet they're top 10 defenses. So I don't think that there's like a magic trick. I don't think that there's like there's not an element that you have to focus in on. I don't think it's rebounding. I don't think it's turnovers. I don't think it's rim protection. I think it's very individual team based off of the personnel that you have, Haize.
I think when you look at it like, yes and no, like there are still certain things that you look at. Like it's become more about like how much can you cause disruption rather than like even pure rim protection, right? Like, so how much pressure can you get on the ball? Can you create and force turnovers? How do you rotate back out the shooters? Your help defense, like it's those kind of things that don't always have these numbers associated with it that you have to look at. Then I also think you have to have multiple defenders that can pressure the ball. It used to be that like one really elite on-ball defender could really change the tide, and maybe still can to a little bit. But I think when you look at these teams, like you need multiple players that can be defensive playmakers. Now they can be different types of defensive playmakers, but you need multiple of it, right? Like you look at, for example, like all the people that the Oklahoma City Thunder have, but then even when you look at like Detroit, that had Sir Thompson and Jalen Duren. When you look at like the Spurs, they had Wemby, and they had out on the perimeter. So there's like you need to be able to do multiple things, like defensive events, not just blocks, not just steals, not just rebounding. It's like how many defensive events can you cause, and how much easier does that make your offense? That's really what you're looking at, I think, now for trends in defense.
I think it's a good way to put it. I think defensive playmaking is pretty big. I do think that there's probably something to be said for this, which is like this is granular, and I don't have access to this kind of data to be able to verify it. Because that's one of the problems here is, like, you can say, like, well, Matt, you're just looking at the numbers too much. I'm just always looking for evidence to back it up, because I think a lot of times we take notions. Like, if you've asked me blind, been like, well, what makes it? I'd be like, we're rim protection. You got to stop the rim first. If you don't give up stuff at the rim, If you give up stuff at the rim, you can't have a good defense. And that's largely true. Like, none of these teams are bad at the rim. You don't find teams that are bad at the rim in the top 10 of defense. It's just they don't have a rim protector, right? And I do think that the other thing is, I think, to your point, Hayes, about having guys that can make you uncomfortable. I think if you have guys that can help and recover, that's a bigger deal than we talk about. Because a lot of the times what OKC does is they will allow space on the perimeter to collapse into the paint, and then they recover like madmen. So even though you get a three, it's an uncomfortable three from a bad shooter. And those are things that I think are very hard to instill across the league. I think it's like a very specific type of team that can do that, Wes.
Yeah, I do think when I look at the top 5 teams, when I look at these top 5 defenses, I do think it's interesting that a team like Boston, Toronto doesn't really have that, traditional type of rim protection big. What they do have is a lot of length though on the perimeter, and I think San Antonio also has quite a bit of length. Not obviously with Wemby, but even on the perimeter, like their guards are bigger, their wings are bigger, longer, more athletic. Detroit, very length on the perimeter. Oklahoma City, obviously length on the perimeter. So I do wonder if that's a similarity. But then I'm like, it doesn't necessarily. But just having the length on the perimeter isn't enough, right? You look at a team like New Orleans, who we've talked about their roster quite a bit.
They're
They've
an
got plenty of
enigma
length.
anyway,
They
though.
stunk defensively,
Yeah.
right? And so I kind of just think, to Matt, your point, like it'd be nice to have a number or some sort of like, hey, here's the one thing,
Right.
that I kind of just think it's, you have to have some level of personnel, obviously, but you also have to care about it. And I think
Yeah.
about Mark Dagnall, JB Bickerstaff, Mitch Johnson, Joe Mazzulla. Like, these are the coaches that are just always harping on defense, right? And it matters. And so I think it's a little bit personnel, it's a little bit defense. The other thing that these teams don't have in common, regardless of like what kind of players do they have the rim protector? There's just not huge minuses defensively in their lineups. And if there is, there's just one, right? For Detroit, it was like just Duncan Robinson, but he's surrounded with so many good defenders that it doesn't really matter. There's not more than one weak spot in any of these defenses at any given time, and I think that matters too, if I were to try to find anything.
Yeah, and I think that we also may have to change the way that we look at rim protection, right? Like, instead of like the traditional way that we looked at it, I wonder how like the top 10 defenses all compare to rim attempts at the rim. Like, because if you're able to stop teams from getting attempts at the rim, then that's rim protection. You're just protecting it in a non-traditional way that we aren't really trained to usually think of it and look at it as rim protection.
So the top teams on the defensive list, this is where they stood in terms of allowing shots at the rim. OKC was second. Detroit was eighth. The Spurs.
This is the second most or the second fewest?
Fewest.
Okay.
Spurs were third, and Celtics were first. So that backs up what Hayes is saying. Here's what's interesting though, is there's kind of this little bit of a teardrop off from those 5 teams, and then after that, we go to, these are the ranks: 11th, 18th, 12th, 25th, 26th. So what you kind of see here is, and it makes sense this way, right? If the thing with the top 5 defenses is they're good at everything. The Pistons, OKC, we know. The Pistons are good at everything. The only thing they're bad at is fouls. That's the only thing they do, is they foul you too much because they're so physical. San Antonio is so good at everything. Like, they're only real, like, I don't even know what San Antonio's defensive weakness is. They're very well balanced in terms of what they do. They don't force a lot of turnovers. They're 28th in that. You kind of notice that there's, like, to Wes's point about only one weak defender, they only have one defensive weakness area too. It's like they do everything except this one thing well, because you just can't do everything well.
Right, you can't take everything away, so you pick the one thing that you're willing to live with. And then you just sort of max out on all the other things.
But that's what I think is interesting, is like there's no, I haven't run the correlation on it, but like there's no like indicator of you better be good at this. That's what I think was surprising to me. It's not that it's like they're all pretty good in most of these areas because they're good defenses. But what's interesting is like there's always a few of these where it's like, no, you can be bad at this and it's fine. You can give up threes and that's okay. You can give up shots at the rim and that's all right. And that I think is like a really interesting thing in 2026.
Defense also tends to not be a sticky stat, right? Like the
all.
teams that are the top 5, top 10 in defensive rating one year, it's like half of them are in the top 5, top 10 the next year.
Yep.
A lot of that has to do with just shooting percentages, right? Like ultimately you could play great defense and the other team just makes shots. But it also tends not to be a very sticky stat. But we're nonetheless going to try to predict who the top 5 defenses in the league will be next season. Also, is if there's a specific trend that we're missing. We're going to talk about all of that next here on Locked On NBA Daily. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think is going to hit a home run in their game, and if you're right, you're going to receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the Major League Baseball season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep, and now you get a chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. Sometimes it's a hitter who's been on a hot streak. Maybe you've got a favorable pitching matchup for your home team, or even a ballpark that tends to give up a lot of home runs. Those are always the first things worth looking at before making your Daily Dingers pick. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all of the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, the best way to support the show. Subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. Before we make any predictions on who could be the top defensive units in the league next season, if there's one trend, and maybe it's not necessarily the thing that stands out about the top defenses in the league, but when you're watching these games, is there something that you're seeing defenses do, Haize? Or is there a trend that you think is worth identifying as to, when we kind of just think of where defenses are going?
I think switchable wings. Like, that's the thing. It's the switchable wings, the interchangeable wings. You're two through four in a lot of ways. You want those guys to be able to all guard multiple positions. If you have that on the team, you probably have pretty good defensive balance if you're able to have that.
I'm going to go to more of a team concept because I do believe that defense is largely systemic. You got to have great communication. This is the biggest thing, and this is what players will tell you, is you have to have the ability to be able to know what your teammate's going to do so you can help them and also not over help them. Game plan discipline is so big in this league. Like, I don't know. I think one of the biggest problems with the regular season is what coaches call KYP, which is know your personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's 82 games and guys are just like, they're not able to lock into the scouting report as often as they are when it's a playoff series. There's such a lack of KYP where you will see teams that it's like the guy's like, oh, I'm supposed to help down here. And it's like, you are leaving a 45% shooter to go wander down here and do nothing. Over helping is such a bad thing in this league. So to me, it's about like coaching provides communication, and communication helps KYP because you don't overhelp. And those I think are the most important things.
Two things that I think, or I got three things. I'll do two of them really quick. I think a lot more teams are starting to help off of above the break threes, allow those above the break threes a little bit more, and make sure that you kind of pinch on the driver to try to take away some of these rim attacks. I think I've seen a lot more. I'm seeing a lot of like fly out closeouts where basically instead of just like the short step closeout on the 3-point shooter, guys are just flying right by him and then just moving back to their side of the court, almost like cherry picking, because hopefully the idea is they miss the shot and then you get they're already out for transition. But the real thing that I'm thinking is a big trend is forcing turnovers. I think there's a lot more teams in the league trying to create steal opportunities. Oklahoma City has won a title doing this. Detroit tried to mimic this last year, and they actually forced more turnovers on a percentage basis of their opponent's possessions than the Thunder did 2 years ago. And I do think when you look at the top 5 defenses last year, 3 of them were also in the top 5 in opponent turnover rate. Detroit, Oklahoma City, Toronto. And I just think in a league where offense has gotten so efficient, the best way to stop the offense is to not let them get a shot off. It's sort of becoming a game of Uno, where the way that you win is just sort of reversing and making sure that the other players don't get a chance to put down a card. Like, that's sort of where I think defenses are going right now, is like, okay, before you even get the shot off, what if we just took the ball away from you? because everybody's just so good at scoring these days.
Possession control. Coaches talk
Exactly.
about this all the time. It's winning the possession game.
Yep.
I honestly think that's a great way to. That I think might be like the thing to circle in here, because the teams that are good at rebounding, or the teams that aren't good at rebounding are good at turnovers, and the teams that aren't good at turnovers are good at rebounding.
Yep.
So one way or another, they're
pick
limiting the
one.
number of possessions that you get. If you are getting killed on the glass and you're not turning them over, you're giving them too many chances to score on you.
So let's look at next season. If we were trying to take what we're talking about here and then project to next season, hey, is there a team or teams that you're looking at that you feel pretty good about maybe ending up in the top 5 or top 10? Or let's try to top 5 in defensive rating next year.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be largely. I know you said that they don't always repeat, but I think it's going to be largely a lot of the same teams. The Thunder, the Spurs, the Pistons are probably going to be up there too. The Rockets, I'd be willing to bet are in the top 5. I know they were slightly out last year, and the Raptors. Those are the teams that I would be willing to bet on.
Assuming that Kawhi ends
Assuming
up in
Kawhi
Toronto.
goes there, yeah, of course.
Matt, agree, disagree, additions, subtractions?
Yeah, I mean, like the research I do says that, like you said, it's not sticky. Your average finish for a top 1 is 4.5. The problem is, okay, I asked Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder this week on one of our calls. I was like, is the Thunder defense going to slip next year? And he's like, yeah, it'll slip. Like, he's like, I don't know how much, but it'll slip. Now, the problem is, like, they can be 6 points worse per 100 possessions and still be in the top 3 because the Thunder are freaks. I would say, I'm willing to go ahead and say OKC will be a top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit top 5. Those two, I would stay there. I will give San Antonio. I have some concerns. There's a little bit of wonkiness with San Antonio. I would not be surprised if San Antonio slid back a little bit. Boston's a tough one.
Because you can see them being up there, but you can also see them being more towards the end of the top 10.
Cato was so good. Like, an interesting question is, who's a better defender, Jaylen Brown or Paul George? That's an interesting question. That's a genuinely interesting question. And most people are like, oh, Jaylen Brown.
On ball, probably Paul George. Off ball, Jaylen Brown.
I would give Jaylen Brown the edge here only because he's going to be available.
That's a good
right?
point.
That's my biggest thing with Boston is if Paul George misses 25 games, then I don't really. And if Mitchell Robinson isn't playing 60 games like he did last year, then it's like, okay. But
I said Toronto was going to be top 10 last year, and some people on the show laughed in my face.
Because at the time that you said it, it did look ridiculous.
And that's because I have the vision.
And
Toronto.
then they traded for Brandon Ingram.
Toronto will be top 5.
Yeah.
Next season for sure with Kawhi. The question I think a better question here is, what team is going to jump into the top 10? That's like a good question. Is like, who's going to be better defensively next season than they were this year? Because, like, Atlanta here at number 9 is like the 3-headed Ghidorah with the tongue sticking out, where you're like, what are you doing here, Atlanta? You have no rim protection. You have CJ McCollum. You have Dyson Daniels, great. But, like,
you add Lou Dort.
That's a good point. You add Lou Dort.
I kind of think Atlanta is going to sneak up. Going along, like if they're just taking away the ball all the freaking time, I do wonder if they sneak up. And a big part of their identity this year is going to be defense. They're going to have to care about it in a big way. And if you saw after the Trae Young trade, they started trending up. That's the only reason they even cracked the top 10 was the second half of last year.
We assume Miami's going to be top 5, right?
Miami, to me, is the one that we haven't talked about. Giannis, Bam, Davion Mitchell, Andrew Wiggins is 4 of your starting 5. You still have a ton of great defenders coming off the bench.
You guys have got to stop, like, forcing Andrew Wiggins in all these conversations. You guys have got to stop doing this. You guys are killing us.
What are you talking about?
No one looks at Andrew Wiggins the way Heat fans look at Andrew Wiggins.
He's not a negative defensively.
He's not a negative.
Okay.
He's not a negative. He's fine.
6'8", like, rangy, gets steals.
I don't know.
He's part of it.
Are you with me that they're going to be top 5?
I think he can be top 5. I wouldn't say for sure. I think they can be top 5 though.
I think they're going to be top 3
if they jump in. Is there any top 5 defense that you think slides?
Probably the Rockets. I picked the Rockets being top 5. So I
don't know, man. Amen's so good. Jabari's underrated.
And they're going to get a lot of their centers back.
Fred.
Yep.
Is still okay, but they're probably going to play Reed more. It's tough.
I wonder if OKC slips to like 6.
That feels too far. It feels like
it does feel too far.
They feel like 4. I think is probably where I would.
They were 1. They were 1 last year with bad 3-point shooting luck. Yeah. So that's probably too far.
Minnesota is another one I don't know.
Yeah, they were
Because
top 5 2 years
there's two
ago.
views
and then
on
out
this, which is
last
they
year.
have Rudy Gobert. That's automatically gets you a top 10 defense as Rudy Gobert.
It didn't last year.
But they also have LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, they're not going to be top 10.
Minnesota was 8th when your schedule adjusted over at dunks and threes, which is what I use.
Oh,
Like, they had
LaMelo Ball
LaMelo.
and Jonathan Kuminga are not serious enough.
Yeah,
defensively.
exactly. So do we think that Minnesota's outside the top 10?
Yes.
If Minnesota's outside the top 10, then I don't know how good Minnesota is going to be.
I don't think they're like 20th though.
Right. They're just like 12th or 14th.
Something like that. But offensively, they're going to have to be top 5. I think
Philly's
that's the trade-off that
They're
Minnesota made.
going to
I
have to
think they
be
knew exactly what they were
elite.
doing.
Yeah, definitely top 5 offensively if they really want to be a contender.
Philly's another interesting one, right?
They're not going to be good enough defensively. Not even close.
Why?
Why would they?
To say not even close, I don't agree with not even close.
I think
There's
a good year
chance.
for Philadelphia defensively would be top 15 defensively.
So they were 16th last year, schedule adjusted.
Uh-huh.
Jalen's a plus defender.
He's an average
LeBron is a
defender.
plus defender on about, I would say, 3 out of 5 nights. He's a plus defender.
See, I guess that's where we disagree. I think
You think
LeBron's
LeBron's negative at this point?
in the regular season, yeah.
Okay. I think he's 3. I think 3 out of 5 nights he's good.
Okay.
And then Joel is always Joel, but I also like the small ball lineups with Bona. Like
Yep.
I think Bona's a good defender.
Maxey tries hard. They just don't have a stopper, I guess, is the problem.
That's true. They do not have a stopper defensively. That's accurate.
I think we've identified. Can I just shout out New York? Because the way the Knicks play defense in that run and against the Spurs in the finals, like I do think they have a chance to move up. And if Cat keeps playing defense the way he was, this could be another team that moves up.
There is very little to indicate that is sustainable, but I'm not sure. This is where I just turn into the super nerd that everybody's like, "Shut up! They're the champs. Go Knicks." Yeah, Knicks rule all. Like that's where everybody gets to. It's just like I'm just telling you. Odds are that New York's going to be outside the top 10. What do you think, Hayes?
Bridges, Hart, Anunoby, Towns.
I
Yeah,
won't say
everybody
for
in.
sure. I mean, I get what you're getting at. I would still more so bet on them being in the top 10 than outside the top 10.
You're saying a lot of teams are going to be in the top 10, Hayes. And there's
No,
only
I
10.
didn't. I said certain teams are going to be in the top 5, and then I removed one from the top 5 to make one in the top 5.
Okay. Do you think Toronto's going to be top 10?
Yeah, I had them in the top. The Toronto's going to be really good.
Okay.
I had them going in the top 5 next year.
Toronto, New York. You think Miami can be?
I can be.
I have 8 teams I feel good about in the top 10.
And probably the rest of it's honestly shooting luck the rest of the way.
Yeah. I think Boston slips. I just
will
have too
say-
many concerns about their availability. I think they'll be good when they're healthy. I just, for the balance of a regular season, I wonder if they'll be able to maintain.
One more here. I just think Phoenix is really interesting.
Yeah.
Phoenix does so much with so little, and if Malawash is good, that actually
be a game
probably
changer.
makes them better, and they have more continuity. It's an interesting question, I think, with Phoenix. They could be-
Dallas is also lingering, right? I mean, they've got a lot of size
Get out
there.
of here! Get out of here!
All right.
Dallas was 18th last year. There's no way that they're going to jump into top 10 with the amount of youth. I don't think Daniel Gafford is. I think Daniel Gafford had a good 3 months as a rim protector, and other than that, has been a non-factor.
Yeah,
defensively.
it's true. If Lively can't, Lively's got to be healthy. I mean, as many questions as we have over Kyrie's health, there's just as many about Lively's
I love the
health.
wings, right? Like, how do you not love Cooper and Najee and
Yep.
PJ Washington? And they have all these guys, but Kyrie's coming back. And
Mm-hmm.
that's barbecue chicken.
All right, we spent too long on this. We just named a bunch of teams that we think could be good defensively and some that we disagree on, but we did not talk about the Washington Wizards. We're saving that for the next segment. We're going to go into their first full season with Trae Young and Anthony Davis. They've also added AJ Dybantsa to the mix. We're going to talk about one of the more interesting, I think at least, rotations in the league as we wrap up the rotation lab after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everybody working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. Odoo can turbocharge the way that your organization interacts with each other. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/locked on. That's odoo.com/locked on. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily part of your daily routine and making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen every day. If you are a true everydayer, then you've been with us for the entirety of the Rotation Lab. We have talked about all 30 NBA teams, including today's topic, the Washington Wizards. We are going to take the Wizards and build out its opening night rotation. Quick offseason summary. They lose Sharif Cooper, Anthony Gill, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, Cam Whitmore. No big losses there. Just some players who played some minutes. They did add DeAndre Ayton, Trae Mann, Chris Middleton, and they drafted, obviously, AJ Dybantsa at the top of the draft. They re-signed Trae Young to a 4-year, $212 million contract extension. Matt, hit us with the starting five.
Okay, Trae Young. I'm going to give Bilal Coulibaly the starting nod of the two. I think Trey Johnson should start. I want that noted. Small forward is AJ Dybantsa. Anthony Davis, a power forward, and Alex Sarr, who had one of the largest increases in EFG year over year last season. He was top 10 in that category. He will start at center.
Haize, where does that leave us with the bench rotation?
I do love this. Trae Johnson should be starting too. I want to say that, Matt, but I don't think you can start him and Trae Young in the backcourt. So Trae Johnson's definitely going to be coming off the bench. Bub Carrington's definitely going to be in the rotation as well. Didn't have George in your starting lineup, so Keyshawn George definitely coming off the bench, giving him some minutes, and Ayton.
Yep.
If Keyshawn started, where would he start?
The two guard over Coulibaly, I guess, but
A little bit more size.
Yeah, that two guard spot is going to be a little bit of a that could be a training camp battle. Chris Middleton is also hanging around, but I don't know if he's a rotation guy at this stage. But they paid him like one.
I think he's a rotation guy. Keyshawn's like, what's crazy about you can play Keyshawn at 2 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
You really can. He's so good at so many different things, and he's so big. I'm genuinely. Do they have Trae Mann? Did Trae Mann end up there?
I thought he did, right?
Because Trae can play. Trae's good.
Trae is good.
Yeah, he's on the Wizards.
So this is another team where, look, the starters, I think we're all kind of like Anthony Davis and Trae Young. Cool. But like, love these bench guys.
I'm kind of like Anthony Davis and Trae Young. Cool. I kind of like it.
Okay. It can work.
It could work potentially.
If it was going to work, it would be this, right?
The last time Trae Young was on a team with young players that you're like, hey, it could work with young players. They were exponentially better with him off the court.
So like one thing I do want to note here though is at least Trae has come into the situation and been like, I want to be here. I want to be with the young guys. I'm gonna be like, he came to every game last year. He didn't just like bail and go home. Like he was out there talking to him. He was at summer league with him, and you could say like, yeah, because he wanted the contract. They were going to give him the contract. I think they gave him too many years and too much money. I was hoping they were going to give him for way less. But like, I think Trae's done the right thing. Anthony Davis has continued to do this. Like, well, we'll see if you're good enough for my services. I don't know if this team is worthy of me. And I'm just like, get out. I would so rather Anthony Davis be gone. Champagne. They got one of the Champagne guys. Awesome. Yep. Tristan Vukcevic secretly. Pretty good. They have really good depth. And that's crazy for a Wizards team that lost so much, but they were so purposefully bad last year. There's nobody in the bench rotation I don't like.
Haize, I want to go back to the Anthony Davis piece of this because I do think Trae Young's role here is obvious, right? You're the point guard, dish it out to all these guys, all these pieces that we all talk about that we like. Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, how are they going to make this work in the front court, do you think?
I mean, I think that it's going to have to be Alex Sarr may have to pick his spots as far as offensively. Defensively, I think it will work and balance out between the two of them, and that's probably what they're looking at. Offensively, like I don't know, because you're going to have to feed Anthony Davis, but Sarr needs those touches. I honestly don't know.
Sarr spaces. He's going to play. He'll play 5 out with Davis running pick and roll.
Mm. Does that make Alex Sarr Jabari Smith Jr., where it just felt like his ceiling was a little bit higher than that?
Yep, a little bit. And I think defensively, though, it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great because AD doesn't like guarding bigger guys. He wants to beat up on small dudes. And so Sarr can take the big centers and get cooked, and Davis will be the help side rim protector, which saves Davis's legs and body. And Sarr's really good defensively. I think defensively this team actually has a lot of upside, except for the fact that Trae Young is their starting point guard.
Hayes, who does Trae Young benefit the most on this team? Like among the young guys, who do you think gets like the most benefit from playing alongside?
Oh,
somebody like
Sar
Trae Young?
for sure. Sar and Dybantsa, I think. Like Trae is still a really good passer, and sometimes I wish he would actually focus more on his facilitating and let the scoring come to him rather than him be the kind of the dominant scorer that he can be sometimes. Because I think he benefits Sar, he benefits Dybantsa quite a bit. I think in the half court offense.
I actually think that whoever winds up in the corners is the beneficiary there. Trae is really good at the ball reversal to the corners. He is really good at that. He's so good at a high screen pressuring the defense, even though he's like small and not a good shooter. They still kind of like try and apply a lot of pressure to stop him.
Yeah.
And he navigates that very well in forcing the defense to come over and then punishing it with a kick. So like whoever's going to be the guy that shoots the most in the corner, which like last year, Koulibaly was 44% from the corners. So Bilal could really benefit from Trae Young, I think.
And if they're sharing the court, it sounds like it might be Sar also a little bit in that corner.
Trey Johnson, actually, 47%.
Interesting. That's the Wizards rotation lab. There are a lot of pieces that we like. I kind of think this team could be pretty good. Am I alone on that island? Like maybe Wizards sneaky. I don't know. The East is so deep. I was going to say maybe a sneak and play-in chase, but maybe that's asking for too much in year one of all of this.
So a couple teams are going to get caught, right? They'll get caught with injuries
Sure.
or bad luck. And I think the Wizards will be in the mix for the play-in. I think that that's a reasonable goal for them to be over 500 and in the mix for the play-in. I think is a reasonable goal for Washington. I think if they wind up being like, oh my God, the Wizards are the 4 seed, that's an incredible season. That means like,
yeah,
everything's going right.
Can I give you an irresponsible prediction?
Please do.
I think the Wizards finish with a better record than the Hornets.
I don't think that's crazy at all. After doing the rotation chart,
right?
And I was looking at this yesterday. Con Knipple is not ready to be an engine of an offense. If you believe that Brandon Miller is, then that can work a little bit better. But like, I am sincerely concerned that the Hornets do not have somebody to stir the drink, and the Wizards absolutely do. Trae Young is a lot of bad things, but he does stir the drink.
Love those drink stirs. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you back here next week for more Locked On NBA Daily.